What makes a good singer? What makes a great singer? What makes an awesome singer? Well, I'm going to try and tell you. On the weekend, I held a performance workshop with my students. So anyone who has face-to-face lessons with me, I offered them the opportunity to come along. I had a session for my children who are in primary school, then I had another session for secondary school students, and then I had a third session for adults. And it was a fantastic afternoon. We had a great time. I really enjoyed working with the students, and it was an opportunity to get out of the studio and onto a stage. So the idea was that they prepared a song, so something that they'd been working on for this term, and that was very challenging, especially for some of the adults. Some of them have only had a few lessons with me, but they came along and had a go anyway, so well done those people. Hooray! So we had a talk about performance and what makes a good, a great, an awesome performance. We had a look at some performances. They then had an opportunity to get up on stage and actually perform in front of just their peers and working with a microphone. That was really a great opportunity because some of them had actually never done that before. So even just getting up on the stage and having a go, for some of them that was very daunting and they were really nervous and quite anxious. But they all had a go, and I just say well done to everyone who attended. They all got up and had a sing, which was fantastic. So we talked about what were some of the things that make a good singer. And I've got a few that we wrote down. I'm just going to share those with you. So when talking about what makes a good performance, the first thing that they talked about was having good pitch. Now that's very important. I don't deny that. That is a really important thing. And overall, we really want to have a really good sense of pitch and we want to be able to hit the notes accurately. Now, is that essential even for an awesome performance? Not necessarily, not always. Like generally, yes, we want to have good pitch. But sometimes if we get a note off pitch here or there, it's not vital that we have perfection in pitch. So just be aware of that. Good pitch is important though, that's for sure. The other thing that was sort of unanimous was the importance of memorizing your song. And there were a couple of students who, they've only had a few lessons and they've never been on stage before and they just really wanted to have their words in front of them. So I let them do that. And that's okay, but if you're wanting to do even just a good performance, you really need to memorize your music so that you can present yourself, because that's what makes us different from other instruments, is that as a singer, we are the instrument. So if we're hiding behind stands and music and that sort of thing, sometimes it's appropriate. Sometimes, yes, you can do that. But generally, we want to memorize our music and present ourselves as, the instrument. So memorization, that was one thing that was agreed upon, that was important. Another thing that was talked about was good eye contact with the audience. There was a couple of young ones in particular who were quite nervous and they tended to look up at the ceiling the first time they sang their piece. The idea of the vocal workshop was that the singers had an opportunity to perform, and then we gave them feedback and we gave them suggestions about how they could improve their performance. So it's different from just a performance in that we workshopped the singing. And one particular person, it was a young person, was sort of looking up at the ceiling when they were singing, and probably because of nerves. And we talked about, try and make some eye contact with your audience, even if you're just looking over the top of their heads or you're sort of gazing. And she did it again, and it was so much better. We want to have contact with our audience. We want to draw them into what we're doing. And so if we're not looking at them, it's very difficult to do that. Now, I know some people like to sing with their eyes closed and they think that that's showing emotion. And that's true, and it's okay to do that sometimes. As you can see, the audience, you're starting to lose interest in me because I've got my eyes closed. So you need to sing with your eyes open for some of the performance as well, not constantly singing with the eyes closed. not a good idea. And the other thing that was talked about to be a good singer is that you need to practice. You need to practice your song, you need to learn your lyrics, you need to be able to sing in tune as best you can, you need to be able to sing along with whatever you're using, whether it be a recording or a musician. So all of those things come into being a good singer. Then we talked about some of the things that made a great singer. Now, these are suggestions that were made from the day. You might not completely agree, and there's probably more that we can add to the list. And if you can think of any others, please feel free to put it in the comments section below so I can add it to the list. But some of the things we talked about that made a great singer were things like being able to move. So for some of the performances, they literally, the first time they sang, they literally just stood there with their arms by their side and sang their song. And that was okay, it was good. You know, they sang nicely and it came across very well. But once we did it the second time and I encouraged them to move, it just brought the song to life. It made it more interesting. And it's a bit like he's sitting in front of the camera talking to you. If I did not use any sort of movement at all, if I just sat here still, it would get pretty tedious after a while, I think. I think you would agree with that, yes? The dilemma with movement is that it's very hard to move because we're so busy thinking about our words and where we are in the song, and you know, there's everything going on around us. So that's another sort of thing we have to do as part of the performance. So they were having trouble, and to actually move their feet, they were sort of like crisscrossing their legs going sideways. And I took some time, especially with the younger ones, and we actually just practiced moving in a direction. Like, how do you move? And if you want to move, you literally walk in that direction. We don't tend to cross our feet. That's pretty rare that we do that. Or walk backwards. Like, we don't tend to walk backwards. We turn around and go in the direction we want to go. Even just getting them to move around the room and practice going over to one side to talk to the audience, and then maybe walking across the stage, not crossing the legs, just walk across, maybe sing to the other side. So all these little things can help with your performance, and it certainly improved some of the performances. There was one student who had a pop song and it was very up-tempo and it had a really strong, steady beat. And the first time she sang it very well, but she did not move. And it was really hard as the audience. I don't know if you've been to concerts, but it's very hard if you're sitting there watching someone perform to a really up-tempo, you know, song with a good strong beat. You want to sort of, as an audience member, get into it as well. And it was very hard to do that because you're watching someone not move at all. So the second time they did it, we encouraged them just to, you know, even just to get the knee going so that there's a feeling of the beat as she sang. And it was just so much better. So sometimes just little tweaks can make all the difference to your performance. And then the other thing we said about being a great performer is more practice. So the more times you get up on stage and practice performing, the better you will get. That's where I try to offer as many opportunities as I can for my students to get up and perform. So workshops like this, and we'll have concerts during the year, and we have a big concert at the end of the year. All those sorts of opportunities help them to practice their performance skills. So the only way to get better at performing is to actually practice it. Then we talked about, well, what makes an awesome singer? Someone that you absolutely love to listen to, that you go away talking about how fantastic it was and how amazing their performance was. And some of the things that came out were things like stylistic choice. So it depends on the style of the music too. So you can have a fantastic jazz performance, or you can have, you know, a pop song that's presented really, really well. Or you might have just a ballad, a simple ballad that doesn't require a lot in terms of movement or staging, just simple singing. And that can have an amazing impact on us as an audience. Then we talked about having a solid technique. So having good projection, having a resonant tone, being able to create sounds, maybe some riffing might be, you know, some people are awesome riffers. That mightn't necessarily be what you do as a awesome performer, but some people might. Being able to ad lib or create your own sound, truly being the artist, truly being that person who's putting it out there. So you're being you, so your style is coming across, and that's what people love. They love you. And I gave some examples. We had a look at Adele. So there was a performance of her about 12 years ago, just at the Tiny Desk concerts. I don't know if anyone knows about them. They're fantastic. You need to look that up. And then there was a recent performance by Adele. So the first one was just in a little bookshop, just with the piano. Now I'm going to put a link below to a blog post, and I'll have all these videos on my blog post and you can have a look at them in full. But the one in the Tiny Desk concert, Adele just sang simply. She just sat there and it was very entertaining and it was great to listen to. And then she had the next performance that I showed. It was on stage with the lighting and, you know, it was all very formal. And I think she was actually performing for her peers. Like there was a lot of artists and, you know, movie stars and so on in the audience. And she actually, I showed this for a reason, because initially everyone's like, this sounds great. And just as she was getting into the song proper, she had to stop and start again. So even the best performers, even Adele, have moments where they get incredibly nervous. She was so nervous and she had to literally stop and start again. But, you know, she looked fabulous and she sang really well. Even so, it was a fantastic performance by Adele. And it just goes to show that you don't have to have all the bells and whistles. You don't have to have the dances and all the, you know, the lighting and the pyrotechnics and all that. That's fantastic. That can create an awesome experience. But if we're looking for what really makes an awesome singer, what is it about them? I think we need to look more at the specifics of their technique, their passion. That was another thing that came out. You have to be passionate about singing. You have to want to be able to share the music with the audience. You can't just, you know, just can't be singing notes. It's more than that. The passion for singing has to be in the person to truly make it an awesome performance. And with passion comes emotion. So being able to understand the story in the singing, being able to tell the story and project the emotion that's required to put the song across. And that makes such a difference to your performance. Now, there are more things that are required to be an awesome singer, and I haven't listed them all here, but one other thing we have to remember is more practice. So the more we practice, the more we work on our skills, the more we hone our craft, the better we will be as a singer and a performer. So if you're wondering, well, how do I get better at performing? Go and practice it. Find some opportunities where you can go and sing somewhere. Maybe there's a karaoke night, maybe there's a choir in your local community, maybe there's a talent show that you could be part of, perhaps there's an Eisteddfod. Trying to think of some things. Maybe you could just offer to go and sing somewhere, sing for your family, do something. But the more you practice it, the better you will get. I hope this gives you some idea about what makes a good, a great, and an awesome singer. Again, if you have some other ideas about what you think makes a good, great, or an awesome singer, please let me know. I'll put the links to the videos down below. I'll also put the link to the blog post if you want to just look at them all on one page. That makes life easier. If you want to know more about how you can sing high notes, how about checking out this video here? Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.